How's everybody doing today? Welcome to Mushroom News. I'm your host, Myco. Our friend Christian is editing all this masterpiece together, and I tell you what, we have gone on a deep dive for this episode here today, friends. Unfortunately, it cost a few trees their lives, but hopefully you'll get some enjoyment out of it. Alright, let's get right on into it. What do you think? Man high on shrooms, pistol whipped transgender woman, who then wrestled the gun away. Yeah, that's right. A man accused of hitting a transgender woman multiple times with a gun before she wrestled it away from him, hit it and called the police, according to the Austin Police Department. The victim said Jeffrey Pace, who she'd known for about 4 months, had called her that night and asked her if she wanted to come over. He told her he was taking shrooms, or psilocybin mushrooms according to the affidavit, and although he had hired her as an escort in the past, she told police she just expected to go to his home at the 2900 block of East 3rd Street to hang out. She told police as she arrived, 2 escorts were leaving. This man was already having one hell of a good time that night. 1 walking in, 2 walking out, through the ether, my friend. She also told police Pace had pulled out a gun from his dresser to ensure she didn't try to steal anything. Scared men, weak mind. It happens. She told him that she was leaving and gathering her things, but that's when she told police he accused her of stealing the gun, which was on the dresser. He kind of forgot that it was there and forgot how to use his eyes and look. The victim then told police she grabbed the gun, and after a struggle that put her in a headlock, she was able to get it. She said Pace continued to hit her and bit her. After that, she was able to run away. She got the gun out of him. That's the most important part. We found out that he's weak-minded, so that's fine, and she went and got help. That's what you're supposed to do. Around 1:53, she called the police and told them about the struggle and that she was hiding in a neighbor's backyard. She flagged him down, and when they arrived, she showed them where that he had hidden the Taurus Pistol 6. Around the same time, police received a call from Jeffrey Pace claiming that the victim had stolen his car and his gun. Police found his car in his driveway. Now, I have been to that place where you forget where you're at, what you're doing, and that things are around you. That man was just... She stole my car. It's right there. Oh, shit. That's what happened. It happens. Police questioned Pace, who they said appeared to be still under the effects of the psilocybin mushrooms, who changed his story multiple times. One version of the events, he told the police that he had pulled the gun out so the victim wouldn't try anything, but then she grabbed it and his keys and ran from the house, according to the affidavit. Pace said they struggled outside and each pistol whipped the other before the victim ran away. Another version said the escorts had assaulted him and stolen his gun. Pace is not listed as being in custody as of the time of this article being written. He's faced with aggravated assault and charges with a deadly weapon. Some people don't understand it's a party until it's not, and after it's not a party, you gotta deal with it. That's our first story down. That one was just a fun Florida man story. Now we're going to go into something that I had a lot of fun researching the other night. But before I do that, because technology sucks and it's 2021, I'm only allowed to record for 10 minutes at a time on the phone. So that means I'm at 6 minutes and 23 seconds on here. You didn't see the 2-minute struggle that I had getting it to here. Oh, we fucked that up, Christian. Next paragraph. The police... fucker. And if I don't hit stop and restart again, I'm going to be frustrated. Alright, friends. We are getting into our second... I guess you could say this is really a dive, not even really a story. This is something, I guess you could say... would be a little bit more than news. It was a little bit of research, some interesting comments come across some of my channels, and depending on what rabbit hole I want to go down, will determine what I want to read and where we go from there. So this is about prototaxites, okay? This is something that I found really interesting. If you guys need any of the information from the articles that I pulled this from, all those will be down in the description box. Prototaxites is a giant cylindrical fungus that dominated the landscapes of the late Silurian and the first half of the Devonian period, living 420 to 370 million years ago. They grew big as shit. We'll go over that at the end. They grew really, really, really big. The first research on prototaxites was published in 1859 by Canadian scientist John William Dawson, using specimens found along the shores of the Gaspé Bay in Quebec, Canada as a basis. His initial interpretation was that the organism was an early conifer being rotted by a fungus, beginning a century-and-a-half debate on the nature of the organism that was only resolved in 2007. Scientists at UC and the National Museum of Natural History are saying that one of the most mysterious fossils ever unearthed is that of a 20-foot tall fungus. The problem has been that although the fossils are enormous, they are constructed only of very small interwoven tombs. That filamentous anatomy is consistent with a lot of different things, said Kevin Boyce. There is nothing particularly diagnostic about it to help you choose between all of these options. The researchers tried to shed some light on this controversy by analyzing the organism's chemistry. They looked at an element all plants need to undergo photosynthesis, carbon. The ratio of the isotopes carbon-12 and carbon-13 in the fossils found that prototaxites had too much variation in its ratios to be a tree, lichen, or algae, leaving fungus as the most likely classification. While the idea of a 20-foot tall fungus may seem unrealistic, the Earth was a very different place when prototaxites lived, from 350 to 420 million years ago. There were no land vertebrates yet, only worms and wingless insects. The fungus towered over everything else in the land since the tallest trees grew only a couple feet high. Something like prototaxites probably couldn't survive in the modern world because it was a slow-growing organism requiring a high level of environmental stability. It presumably wouldn't have been very happy with large animals, forest fires, or other ecological changes, said Boyce. The anatomy of prototaxites. From its origin in the late Silurian, more than 420 million years ago until the evolution of large trees 50 million years later, prototaxites were the largest organisms known to have lived on the land. Although originally described as a conifer, its distinctive anatomy is utterly unlike any living or fossil land plant. Prototaxites is a giant fungal fruiting body that accounts for its hyphae-like anatomy, but remain controversial because its sheer size and lack of clear reproductive structures are more difficult to reconcile. The identity of prototaxites may never be proven by anatomy alone. The organic composition of fossils can be influenced as much by locality of preservation as by original biology, but comparison of multiple specimens within individual localities control for factors that might influence preserved isotopic or organic chemistry, including variations in climate, background in organic, or atmospheric CO2 concentration. In conclusion, prototaxites grew up to 1 meter tall, grew up to 1 meter wide, 3 feet, reaching 8 meters tall, 26 feet, Marco, and made of some interwoven tubes around 50 micrometers. Figure that one out. In diameter, making it the largest land-dwelling organism of its time. I'm really curious as to what they would have looked like in person. Hopefully, our buddy Christian did a good job going through and finding some artist depictions. Maybe I don't know, I've seen the fossil up there, so hopefully he put that all up there for us. But before we get into our third story, because this third story right here actually kind of has me enthralled a little bit. It was quite the fun journey to go down, and it was quite the fun read. So I'm going to take a minute, clean my glasses up, get this restarted, because I don't want to have to stutter and stammer too much. Since these like seal to your eyeballs, the liquid in there is making them foggy to where it's almost dripping down my glasses right now. So I will be back in a minute.
2 hours later.
All right, we're going to keep this going right along for our third story here tonight, third dive. We're going to look at some fossilized mushrooms. This was a really fun one for me to do as well. Scientists have discovered a rare 115 million year old mushroom fossil that sprouted during the era of the dinosaurs, the oldest such specimen found by far. The 2-inch mushroom was found in Brazil, then part of the supercontinent Gondwana. Studying the fossil under an electron microscope, scientists found that the ancient mushroom had gills under its cap as well as spores, which help identify the fungus species, said Sam Heeds. The scientists called the specimen Gondwana Garicides magnificus. Took a while to get to that part, in a nod to its place of origin. After falling into a river, possibly during a flood, the fungus was carried into a lagoon where it was buried under sediment and fossilized. a scenario backed up by fossils of insects and plants found at the same location. The water in the lagoon must have been salty and contained little oxygen, which helped preserve the mushroom, according to Heads. The fact that this mushroom was preserved at all is just astonishing. Most mushrooms grow and are gone within a few days. Mushrooms' soft, fragile structures decay rapidly, making the chances of fossilization extremely low. Although fossilized remains of fungal filaments dating back hundreds of million years have previously been discovered. Only 10 whole fossilized mushrooms have ever been found, the oldest of which dates back 99 millions of years.
I got 99 problems with it.
What's another one? All those mushrooms were fossilized in amber. Fungi evolved before land plants and are responsible for their transition from an aquatic environment, said, wait for it, a scientist. Woohoo. When Gondwana Garicides magnificus was growing, the very first flowering plants were appearing, undergoing major evolution, Head said. There were dinosaurs stomping around, petrosaurs flying around in the sky, lots of different fun. So now, when I got done reading this, I was like, hold on. This was the only one that they found fossilized, and then I read something about them finding more of them in amber. So then we started that little dive. Most consider mushrooms as guild fungi that grow in yards and are available for purchase in stores. However, these are only just one group of fleshy fungi, along with coral fungi, jelly fungi, bracken fungi, puffballs, earth stars, gastroids, and bird's nest fungi. Due to the delicate nature of most fleshy fungi, the fossil record of such forms is quite limited. Amber is one media that preserves these delicate objects, such as fungal bodies, in exquisite detail. This is due to the preservation qualities of the resin when contact is made with the entrapped plants and animals. Not only does the resin restrict air from reaching the fossils, it withdraws moisture from inside the tissue, resulting in a process known as inert dehydration. This, together with antimicrobial compounds in the resin that destroy decay-causing microorganisms and terpenoids and resin acids that fix the tissue. A natural embalming process occurs during the process of polymerization and cross-bonding of the resin molecules. The Mexican amber specimen was found in the Pasitos mine, occurring in lignitic beds in association with the Balantum sandstone of the early Miocene and the La Quinta formation, dating the deposits to 22.5 million years ago, 26 million years ago. The Dominican specimens were obtained from the mines in the Dominican Republic. Using foraminifera, that word, in the bedrock, Dominican amber has been dated at 15 to 20 million years ago. However, when dating was based on Cacocalus, a range at 35 to 45 million years ago was obtained. So that was pretty cool when we were in the Dominican Republic, but it's like, if we're going to keep on deep diving with mushrooms that are found in amber, let's keep on deep diving. But before we deep dive, I have to deal with this spoon because I'm at my 10-minute time limit. Astonishingly well-preserved mushrooms that were trapped in amber some 99 million years ago have been discovered in a museum's collection in China. The oldest amber mushrooms ever found is only a million years older than the newly described examples, which were found among 111,000 pieces of amber from Burma in the Nanjing Institute of Geology and Paleontology in China. The researchers appeared taken back by how well the latest discoveries were preserved and also how similar to modern mushrooms they were. Mushroom fruiting bodies are ephemeral and their fossil record is limited. The discovery of 4 mushroom forms, most with complete intact caps containing distinct gills and stalks, suggest evolutionary stasis of the body form for 99 million years. In other words, if it ain't broke, don't fix shit. Alright? And the mushrooms realize that because they're smarter than us. That's why we keep evolving and they're like, fools. A 440 million year old fossil of a fungus that looked like a mushroom has also previously been discovered in Scotland and Sweden. The Science Academy says beetles appear to have been spatially adapted to eat the mushrooms. The mouth parts of rove beetles, including enlarged mandibles, match those of modern beetles and indicate mushroom feeding habit. Their finding displays an ancient ecological community assembling diverse mushrooms and beetles. The fossilized remains of the oldest form of land-dwelling life ever discovered have been found on the remote Scottish island. The tiny tortuous fungus, believed to date back some 440 million years, helped create life as we know it, playing a key role in the production of life in the first fertile soils that allowed plants to flourish and in turn tracked animals to move from the sea to the land. The fossil, shorter than the width of a human hair, was discovered by a Cambridge University scientist in Gotland, Sweden. The fossil provides a hint that mushroom-forming fungi may have colonized the land before the first animals left the oceans. It fills an important gap in the evolution of life on land. And that was a very fun story for me to research. And now, we are coming down to our final story, Mycophagy. What is Mycophagy? I mean, seriously. The act of consuming mushrooms dates back to ancient times. Edible mushroom species have been found in the mummy of a man who lived between 3400 and 3100 BCE in Europe. Was found with two types of mushroom. The Chinese value mushrooms for supposed medicinal properties as well as for food. Ancient Romans and Greeks, particularly the upper classes, used mushrooms for culinary purposes. Food tasters were employed by Roman emperors to ensure that the mushrooms were safe to eat. Reading that line gave me a lot of fun, because now we're going down this rabbit hole. A study done using the tooth plaque of an 18,700-year-old woman's remains found a variety of mushroom spores embedded in the prehistoric woman's teeth. This discovery is definitive proof that mushrooms were a part of the human diet by this point in time, predating our previous understanding of fungi being used as a food source for humans by over 3,000 years. This means that the Stone Age humans may have readily identified edible mushrooms. Edible has a broad definition. Or even sought out mushrooms that had special powers. Broad definition. For anyone familiar with Terence McKenna's stone date theory, this evidence should be of no surprise. This theory is a hypothesis that psilocybin-bearing mushrooms acted as a catalyst for human evolution. Now knowing that mushrooms use stems back over 18,000 years, the possibilities for this psychedelic suspicion now look better than ever. In these microscopic images of the ancient tooth plaque, a guild fungi spore can be seen on the left and a bolete fungi spore on the right. Try to get that going. Clone that sumbitch. Just saying. So where is this sample from? The prehistoric human remains in this study are that of the Red Lady of El Miran, the ancient fossil of a woman unearthed in the cave of El Miran in the mountainous region of Cantabria, Spain. Her remains were uncovered in a sort of burial shrine at the back of a cave in 2010 during the excavation. They were transported to the University of New Mexico to undergo radiocarbon dating and examination. In addition to the mushroom spores, researchers also found plant, animal, and mineral sources in the plaque sample. Before these well-preserved samples, it had been relatively unknown as to how diverse the ancient human diet was. These findings provide us with a better understanding of what humans were eating during the Paleolithic era, a time during which we know very little about the human way of life. The many ancient and unexplainable feats of engineering and architecture may leave one wondering if the ancients had to help with psychoactive fungi or flora in the expansion of ideas and technologies, and that's how you say it, okay? Sorry. If you only see that one time, it's because I read it like 15 times and it's a pain in my ass sometimes trying to read it, especially when I can't see. But I love you guys. Romans and the mushrooms. Ooh. Mushrooms were a favorite food of both Greek and Romans, despite the danger of eating the wrong kind. When Agrippina decided to kill her husband Claudius to make her son Nero the new emperor, she laced a particularly delicious type of morel with poison. Claudius ate them for supper, and then the regime change was assured. The philosopher Seneca called mushrooms the voluptuous poison that led people to eat them even when they were no longer hungry. The field mushroom was particularly relished, but not all that were gathered were safe to eat. Since the natural supply of field mushrooms was not enough to meet demand, mushrooms were cultivated. Rotten dung was mixed with mold from bog in beds 1.5 foot wide by 1.5 foot deep. In a few days, the mushrooms could be harvested and were productive until winter. Athenaeus of Naucratis wrote a 15-volume treatise on culinary and other matters in the late 2nd century AD. He described the method of Nicander for growing mushrooms that were safe to eat. Manure was placed around the trunk of a fig tree and heavily watered. The resulting mushrooms were expected to be non-poisonous. Do not try this at home because they might be poisonous. They really might be don't just go watering trees and eating the mushrooms, but now you see how we're evolving with it. And from the Romans, we're going to go back a little bit further. Egyptians and mushrooms. Ancient Egyptians believed that the mushrooms were plants of immortality, and they were actually called them gifts from the god of Osiris, believed only to be food reserved for the rich and the famous, which means that people like you and me couldn't eat them. We weren't special enough back then. But they scribbled the shit all across the walls, so we know that it happened. Which means that if you're growing all this shit and you're eating it, you're not listening to the message. So Egyptians, y'all some stingy motherfuckers. And it's at this point in time, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. Please thank Christian if you see it down in the comments. If you enjoyed it, give us feedback. We need feedback. The more feedback we get from you, the better we can make all this. Part of our feedback to show that we're listening is to script our stuff out. Just for this episode, as you see, we're taking you guys seriously. So that means increase my work. But to increase my work means you guys get better content at the end. Hopefully this was better than anything we've done before, because it was a lot of work. And I promise, it's just not copying and pasting. I wish it was. So if you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to support the show. Redbubble.mycomadness.com. Please drop a like, drop a comment, share the video, and keep giving us feedback. The more feedback we get, the better this thing will be. I appreciate you, friends. I love you. I'll see you next week.